There we go. I have been a fan of MBA research since I began to teach a very long time ago. And I will tell you, throughout the 34 years that I was in the classroom, the resources available through MBA research really helped to strengthen my program. And I believe that mission is still there today. We are a strong supporter of each of you as you are working to prepare students for their future careers as well. As some of you may know, we are a consortium of states, a nonprofit. Certainly West Virginia is one of our member states, and there are a lot of benefits to the state as a whole and to you as teachers in the classroom through that membership. So want to thank Deanna. I don't know if she's online with us, but if she is, for continuing to advocate for teachers in the state of West Virginia. So just a little bit about our instructional system before we get into States Connection. Things that we do is to help you determine what you need to teach, all the way from determining the standards that ought to be taught in your business administration classrooms, including finance, management, marketing, entrepreneurship, hospitality, and tourism, all the way through student assessment. This really ensures that your course content, your instructional materials, and your tests are all aligned. In other words, as a classroom teacher, what students are going to learn in your classroom is what they'll be assessed on at the end of the week, at the end of the instructional unit, or at the end of the semester or year. So the starting point of our system is the business community, and we really hang our hat on the research that we do with business and industry around our standards. And that research comes specifically from the 4 business administration related career clusters, which are finance, marketing, management, entrepreneurship, and we have also done research in the hospitality and tourism area. Since its beginning in the 1970s, MBA research philosophy has been that business practitioners really ought to be the ones that determine what is taught in classrooms, since they are ultimately the employers of our students. To us, it only makes sense that business determines what skills and knowledge they need and think matter most. We do this through identifying the needs of business and industry through a variety of secondary and primary research activities. Once the business community validates the standards that MBA research develops, the standards are published for free on our website and in Curriculum Builder, and I'll show you where that is in States Connection in just a little bit. Teachers and states can use those standards to update existing curriculum, or you can use it to develop new courses. These business validated standards help ensure that our teaching time is really focused on what matters most. And I will tell you, as a classroom teacher for 34 years, I very confidently said to my business community, to our curriculum folks over at the administration building, to our Board of Education, to our parents, and most importantly to our students, that I was focused on what business and industry said what mattered most, not what I felt as a teacher what mattered most. From those standards, we develop curriculum such as our programs of study and our course guides that help you determine what to teach and when. We also develop instructional materials that can be used with a curriculum to support teachers in the teaching of standards. And finally, the proof. We need to hold our students accountable for their learning, and we have a to aid in the assessment of students, both formative and summative, including rubrics, quizzes, rating scales, and test assessments. So let's get to, which is going to support really all of those areas that we just talked about. If you do not currently have a States Connection account, or you have not updated yours in the past year, we have spent the last year revising our States Connection based on input. So if you had an account that you opened a year or 2 years ago, you'll have to kind of reopen your account into our new States Connection. In order to do that, you're going to go to our webpage, mbaresearch.org. You'll see a quick links, and down at the bottom you'll see it says States Connection. You're going to click on that States Connection, and it's going to take you to another page where you can either register, which you will click here to register, or you will log in if you already have a login page. You don't need to do that right now, but if you have if you want to open a different window and get registered while we're talking, you're more than welcome to do that. Or if you want to use your phone and get registered while we are talking, just so you don't forget to do it, you are more than welcome to do that as well. In order to register, it's just a very quick information. We want to capture some information and data from you in terms of who is using the States Connection, so that we can provide those reports back to our consortium representatives, so they can see who is using States Connection and how it is being used in their state. Also helps us to communicate with you. States Connection is only for our member states. So it's a little bit different than opening an account like at Macy's, department store, where if you register, you immediately get access to the account. We're going to verify that you're a teacher, in this case in West Virginia, and then you'll get an automatic email. It'll go through a system. It's going to take 30 minutes. And you'll get an automatic email back to you letting you know how to get in and that you have an account for States Connection, and you'll be able to access it at that point. So what's in your States Connection? We're gonna take these apart, each one of these areas, but there is a lot. Everything from curriculum resources to help you make some changes to your courses or to build new courses, to information to work with your students on ethical case studies, to a dictionary with lots of terminology. So this new States Connection looks like, and you'll know you are in because you'll see something up here in the corner that says West Virginia member benefits. So here we've taken each of the resources and put them into a like area so that it's better organized and more easily accessible. And we're going to look at some of each of these as we go through. If we have time, I'll also take you out to States in order to play around, and I'll show you some of the things out there if we have time during this session. So number of areas. The first is here in curriculum, and there are a number of things listed under there, including action briefs. We're going to talk about those in just a couple minutes, all the way down to rubrics. And then behind each of these tabs are a lot of really wonderful resources. New this year to States Connection, we are now building out an area for work-based learning. We've been hearing from teachers, state consortium reps, and from the feds that work-based learning is coming back into play, and many school districts are starting to add this as an option, again, within career and technical education. And so we're beginning to build out resources for you, and you'll want to continue to come back throughout the year and the coming years as we continue to build out this work-based learning. Also new this year is an area for school-based enterprises. Many of our school districts across the country have school-based enterprises. When we think about those, we tend to think mostly about school stores, but we have banks, we have student entrepreneurs running events. We have a lot of different kinds. Coffee shops have really begun to pop up across the country. And so we have resources to support you in your school-based enterprise as well. When you see everything is blue that you have access to. If you see something in red, here it says High School of Business. business program, this would be blue for your school. And you can see that I am not a high school of business program. I'm research, so it would be red. So that means that it is blocked for you. But everything that you see in blue, you have access to. So the action briefs, and let me give you a little bit of background on the action briefs. I mentioned earlier that we are continuously doing primary research with our business and industry. And in those ongoing conversations, we ask them to identify business trends that are impacting the workplace. Here you are going to see those business trends grouped by kind of area. And behind each link is information about that trend, but really awesome is it also includes some information that would have workplace and classroom implications, really giving you the opportunity to take a topic that business says is really critical right now and in the short-term future, and bring it right to the classroom. So here's an example of an action brief from 2000 on ethics, ethical issues, and ethical leadership. I know that you can't read it, but it's going to give you some information about the trend at the top. It's going to give you some workplace implications and some classroom implications. Now, how can you use this in the classroom? I want to give you a couple of ideas of how I've used it, and then how I have admired and acquired other teachers who have told me how they use the action briefs as well. When these first began to appear, probably about 4 years ago, in the States Connection, as a teacher in the classroom, might have been 5 years ago, I saw an immediate possibility for this, and that was for students to take the action briefs, and I put the students into teams, and at that point there were only 5 or 6 action briefs because we're constantly adding those every couple of months, and have students do more in-depth research on this trend in industry, and that was really good. So they had to I gave them the information on the trend. They went out and did additional research, and then they had to present to our advisory committee when our advisory committee came in the next time. And I had alerted the advisory committee about what the trends were. And so they had some really good questions for the students about how that would impact them as students going into the future, how that might impact their local economy, how it might impact the businesses the students were working at. So it was a really great opportunity. I have had teachers tell me that they take some of the action briefs and they set up a debate where students have to take opposing sides on that particular trend or issue that is being discussed in the action brief. I have heard of teachers who have had students take the action brief home and talk to their parents or guardians or another adult in their life about the trend, and bring back examples from that adult who is currently working, bring back real examples of how they're seeing this trend in their own industry. Thought that was a really great idea. And then the last one that I really like, there's many more, is number of CTSO advisors. So if you are a current technical student organization advisor, these are really great to give students who are going to either have to do prepared presentations or written projects, because there's going to be a trend in there somewhere that's probably going to fit with the criteria for their event. The next part is bookmarks, and I don't know about you, but have you ever gone to the internet to look for a better lesson, a new resource to use in teaching, or a different idea? I have, and I remember, when the internet came into play when I was a teacher, I was just so excited for it. But then I had to tell you, I would go out looking for information, and it really kind of turned into my black hole. I would come out of that black hole maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours later. I might have bought something, I might have watched a funny cat video, been distracted by my social media account, but not have come up with any kind of lesson that would help me to improve my teaching. I stopped doing that when I found the bookmarks, and I will tell you, as a teacher, they had been there for a while before I really found their purpose. And I'll tell you what made me a strong believer in bookmarks. I was teaching a finance class. My first year I taught this finance class. The first part of it was about accounting, and I had never taught accounting. So I thought, oh, well, great idea. I'm going to bring my accounting teacher over. I'm going to ask my accounting teacher to teach that couple of days, and then I'll switch with the accounting teacher. I'll go teach the class that he is teaching right then, wasn't accounting. And so this is going to be a great idea. Well, we had a fabulous accounting teacher in my school, but he adored accounting. My finance students did not love, nor did they adore accounting. They were in finance because they were trying to avoid their math class down the hall. And so he did a great job of teaching accounting, but he was way over their heads. He was on the ceiling and they were on the floor. That was year one. Year two, I thought, I got to do something different, but I don't know what. And I remembered these bookmarks that was in States Connection. I went, I wonder if there's something here. And I typed in accounting because I was looking for, information on accounting, and came across in something called the Bean Counter, and it's a really interactive website, teaches accounting from a non-accountant's perspective, really gave the students, played some games, they were across their screen. It was a great resource. I would have never found that had I not used bookmarks. And for a while, I would challenge teachers. I'd say, type in accounting lesson plan into Google, and you are probably like the rest of us. We never go past the first page. In fact, we probably usually don't go past the first half page. And you would have to dig. I think it was like on page 8 or 9. You would never go that far, but it's here. And these are all vetted websites. So really awesome sites for you to go and look and not get tossed into that black hole looking for really good resources to support your lessons. Course guides are amazing and are now absolutely free in all of our member states, thanks to our partner, the Daniels Fund. The Daniels Fund is a nonprofit focused on providing ethical education at a high school and post-secondary education. These course guides include a course profile, but way more than that. They have the recommended sequence of instruction. They have instructional starter ideas. I call them lesson plan starters. They have projects, and they have at least one project. They have at least one 100 question assessment and an entire list of resources to teach the performance indicators and the standards. In order to get the free course guide, you'll link out to those from States Connection, but there is a short survey that you'll have to complete since the Daniels Fund is paying for the course guides on your behalf. It only takes, on average, it's 3.2 minutes, so it's not going to take you very long to complete that, and certainly worth the $80 to $100 in savings that you no longer have to pay in order to get a course guide. The next is our curriculum builder. And again, for me, like the bookmarks, I didn't use curriculum builder initially very much until we had to build a new course at our school. And I had pulled our teachers out because I was the CTE director as well. I pulled our teachers out and I had them out for 2 full days. Because if you think about building a brand new course, it was a semester course, it would probably take about 2 days to actually build the course. So I had our teachers at a table, and I said, there's this curriculum builder that MBA Research has. I haven't played in it very much, but let's just play with it and see what it can do. I can't lie to you. 45 minutes later, our course was done because you can build courses, and it's a database, so you can define what you want, what instructional areas you want, and we built and discarded probably 3 or 4 by the time we got to the one that we really wanted, and we had our course built. And then of course my teachers, trying to be funny, said, can we go to lunch? It was about 9:30 in the morning at that point. But what it allowed us to do is, now we had our course, we spent the next day and a half really building the lessons to go with it, putting it scope and sequence, and the entire course was done and ready, and we actually had the first 6 weeks of lessons totally finished by the time that we walked away the next day. So Curriculum Builder, again, free to you through States Connection. Go in and play with it. It's really easy to use. And if you get in and you get confused, we do have a YouTube channel as well. And on the YouTube channel is a short video on how to use Curriculum Builder. The next are the gray zone. I love these. I know all of you have access to the Learning Center at no cost for you and your students. And if you have been using that, you know that in each of our lab modules is a gray zone, but we've also pulled them out and put them here so that if you're looking for a specific topic, you don't have to go into each lab to find an ethical case studies. And these are really to introduce your students to problems and situations that really don't have a specific right or wrong answer. I believe as a teacher, I believe as a parent, that we have to give students the opportunities to make mistakes and make poor choices in the safety net of the classroom, and then to see what some of those consequences might be if this had actually been a real situation. So they're not out in the workplace making a poor decision in a split second without having any background or having thought through it before then. So we have a lot of gray zones. I use them, I call them Ethics Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we started class with an ethical gray zone. And I did it in a lot of different ways. Sometimes the students came in and it was, you know, I had it projected up on the board and they had to read it while I was taking attendance. And then we had a discussion about it. Sometimes it was a ticket in the door or a ticket out the door. I made them take them to employers. I made them do additional research. I made them find an article about something to do with that gray zone. I had debates in class. I brought in guest speakers who would talk to the issue on the gray zone. So I really tried to mix it up so they didn't come in and go, oh, we got to do that gray zone again. So we were looking at it in lots of different ways. Also really great if your students are, again, are in a current technical student organization, they're great introductions to competitive events. Just don't tell your students that's what you're doing. And then when you ask them to sign up to compete and they say, oh, I could never do that, you can say, well, actually you have been doing it. We've been doing it through the gray zones. So here's just a couple of examples on the types of dilemmas and they're really short. It's just a paragraph long, and it also tells you where the lap is in case you want to go to the lap. For you in West Virginia, you have access at no cost to the Learning Center. If you have not yet registered for the Learning Center, that needs to be your absolute priority. You get off this webinar. So the Learning Center has 350 plus modules. It's powered by Canvas. So it is an online learning management system. And think about the Learning Center really as your filing cabinet. It's a library of instructional resources. You and your students have access to it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It works well on computers. You can be sitting at the football game this Friday night and you can have your phone out and you can be grading students' work. It's just that easy to do. And because students and you as a teacher have 24/7 accessibility to the Learning Center, you no longer, and your students no longer really have to lug home piles of textbooks and papers. You can grade assignments right from your iPad, your Kindle, your cell phone, or your computer, wherever you are. And I mentioned to Tammy, I said, well, you know, in North Carolina, I said, you know, if teachers have the Learning Center, they can be assigning students work to do post-hurricane once they know that they're all safe. But even with schools closed for a significant amount of time, you still, as a teacher, have access to that anywhere and anytime. We have a dictionary, pretty self-explanatory, but great for students who are looking for definitions, or for you as well. We also have programs of study, and these are really, they were designed to meet Perkins requirements and anticipated Perkins requirements going into the renewal. In each of our programs of study has the list of the courses and the contents, including the academic courses that would, from ninth grade actually through college. We include some resources as well. So here's a sample of just the one page, which is really the graphic layout of our program of study, but there's a whole lot of other support resources within that program of study. So if you have not done one recently, or you're going to be redoing your programs of study, again, these are at no cost to you. I'd recommend that you download them and look at to those for assistance and guidance, so that you're not starting with a blank sheet of paper. We also have a number of project ideas. These are just a couple of examples here, and really just to kind of help you get started, either through the use of project-based learning, or they can be used as regular projects as well. These projects include the project idea, the performance indicators, tells you what to do and how to teach it, and what students are going to have to do as well. Every good project tends to run into issues in terms of the management of that project. And so we know that project management really is a necessity in the business world, but really in the classroom as well. We partnered with the Project Management Institute Education Foundation and created project modules for the high school classroom. These projects there are 9 projects, PBL projects, available on the PMIEF website. And there's a link to it out here at the PMIEF CTE project website. But we also created project management tools for beginners and for advanced users to help them manage the project. Those resources are going to really help you and your students do a better job with projects and get them done on time at the quality level that you expect. When you go out to the PMIEF CTE project website to access the projects out there, you will have to create an account. It's really simple, but there are a lot of resources for you out there as well. And then rubrics. I don't know about you, but when I was in the classroom, I had never taken a course on how to create a rubric. So this was Brenda. Rubistar, Rubicon, somebody find me a rubric that I can use and modify, cut and paste, and just kind of mush together to get a rubric that would be pretty close to what it was I was looking for. Or I would create a rubric, but again, I was not using any kind of research to do that. I was just kind of trying to think it up on my own. Not really a great idea. We have a lot of rubrics that are research-based, and not only is the rubric there, but there's 3 scenarios that you can turn into projects or to use in their workplace and ask their employer to evaluate. So each of the rubrics has the anchors in terms of the behavior that has to be demonstrated. It has ideas for using it in competitive events, or if you require your students to do a senior project or require all of your students to have a portfolio, there's some ideas there as well. Again, remember, all this is free to you. So I just really want to take a few minutes to talk to you about the course guides and to really encourage you to find a course guide that you would like to look at and download it and review it. And I think you will be just astounded at the resources that are available to you. I know that already in the last 35 minutes that we've been together, we have covered a lot. States Connection has a lot of resources in it. Those resources can at times be very overwhelming. I mean, there's so much there. What do I go and do? I recommend to you, if you've not been in States Connection or you haven't been there in a while, find one thing. Need a rubric for a project coming up? Go get a rubric and use it. You'll become a fan. Looking to add something in ethics? Go grab some gray zones and do those ethic Wednesdays or Fridays or whatever, however you want to use it. Looking for some trends or some information that you can add to your lesson plan, go to those action briefs and find some real examples that you can add, but do one thing. And once you do that, then you're going to move to the next thing. And then always remember, instead of going to the internet, always go to Bookmarks first. I think you'll find what you're looking for there. I never didn't find what I needed while I was there. So now I'm going to switch gears. We're going to talk about course guides. And all of it that's in a course guide. Our course guides have changed over the last couple of years. We really listen to teachers in the field in terms of how to help you in your classroom. We want to make things as easy as possible because your life is difficult enough as a teacher. So there are 6 sections in every one of the new course guides. So over the last 2 years, we've been revising and we're using this format for course guides. If you download anything before 2016, they'll still be in the old format, still have all the same information, just going to be formatted a little bit differently, and have a whole bunch more information up front than what ours currently do. So here's what's in a course guide: the course narrative, a description in all of the learning outcomes. We've sequenced the instruction, so if it's a semester course, it's sequenced for 18 weeks. If it's a year-long, it's sequenced for 36 weeks. We have broken down day by day what we call planning guide sheets, and those are where your instructional starters are, your lesson plan starters are, plus a whole list of resources in order to teach that topic. And remember earlier I said there's at least one project. If it's a semester-long course, it's a one project. Full year course, there's 2 projects in there. And the same thing for exams. If it's a one semester course, there's one 100 question exam. Full year course, there's 2 exams there. And whether you're going to teach, I'm sure that there is an instructional area that you believe you could strengthen. You can use the course guide, you can use all of the course guide, or you can use most of the course guide, or you can go in and pull out an instructional area, or go all the way down to a performance indicator and say, I need some help with this. My lesson, like my accounting lesson, just didn't go so well this last year. Or you may be looking for a project to support what you're doing, or you want to look at the exam questions, maybe pull those into your exams, or allow your students in their career and technical student organization to use them as practice. So in section 1, here is all that you're going to find in there, including our standards, elements, and performance indicators, and the actual objectives. So I just want to share this with you a minute. I know that when I taught class, my last 3 years that I was in the classroom, every day, we had to have our objectives somewhere in the room that was visible for the students to see. But as importantly, if an administrator walked into the room, and in our district, crazy as it sounds, if you didn't have the objectives somewhere posted in your room, and they happened to walk in, you could no longer be a highly effective teacher for that year. You could become effective, but you could not be highly effective if you forgot to put your objectives up. Well, it was never difficult for me because I could go into the course guide, I could pull them up, and I could just either print them off, blow them up, print them off, put them up in my classroom. More often than not, I just had them projected when students were coming into the classroom on my side projector, and I just left them up there for that hour, 2 hours, whatever, if I was teaching the class. So here's an example of the structure of the curriculum in a course guide. You get the performance element, which really kind of is an overall description of what students are going to be learning, but again, is not what students would be measured. And then you have the list of performance indicators below that, and then the next performance element. In addition to that, you're going to see the objectives on another page, which are all the objectives for each of those performance indicators is going to be there as well. For some of you, following that performance indicator that you saw on this previous page, for example, determine the relationship between government and business, you'll see some parentheses with information after it. And often teachers ask us, what the heck does that mean? So I want to explain to you what these codes are, so you understand what you're reading. So this is pretty self-explanatory, describe concepts of economics and economic activities. The first code within this parenthesis, this performance indicator code, is designated by a 2-letter abbreviation for the instructional area. So this is EC, this would be economics, MK would be marketing, and then there's a 3-digit number. So EC is the instructional area, as I mentioned, economics. The 3-digit number is what we use to pull test questions from our test item bank. We also use it in curriculum builders. So if you're looking for a performance indicator around economic activities, it's going to reach right down into EC002 and it's going to pull that up. So it's really a reference to use either for us internally to pull test item questions, or it's used in curriculum builder to help build your course. If there's an instructional module or a lab for that particular performance indicator, you'll see that immediately after the performance indicator code. It'll say lab, and then I'll tell you what lab number it is. We are working to reduce the confusion for teachers, because to me, when I was in the classroom, it would make sense if this was EC002, this would be EC LAP 002. So we've begun to make those match. Doesn't always match yet, but know that we are getting there. And then after that is another set of parentheses. That is the curriculum planning level for which this performance indicator has been assigned. There are 5 curriculum planning levels, and this is CS. This would be career sustaining. So here it is, just showing you the code and then the lab. And then here is the curriculum planning levels, and this was CS. And we have 5 curriculum planning levels. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but it really goes from simple to complex. If you think about how you teach, obviously you're going to teach the simple concepts building up to the more complex concepts. And that's how our curriculum levels are designed as well. That's all section 1. Now we're on to section 2. And in section 2, you're going to find a course description. So maybe you are teaching a course, but you don't really love the description for that course that you share with counselors and parents and community. Might want to go look at our course descriptions, even if you're not going to use our full course guide. This, depending on which course guide that you download, it will have our business administration core standards. So those are standards that all students need to know regardless of what field they're going to go into. And then it will also have specific cluster core standards. So cluster core, I'm talking about finance, talking about marketing, talking about management. Section 3 now takes all of that from section 2 and sequences it. Not only does it sequences it, but it tells you how much time it's going to take in order to teach. All of our course guides are based on a traditional 50-minute class period and do allow for those crazy things like Friday afternoon, football pep rallies, snow days, right? So we've got some flexibility in our courses, knowing that you need flexibility in your classroom, because you will not teach a full 90 days. Something's going to interrupt you. So this is kind of what the sequence of instruction looks like, and this is out of our ethical leadership course guide. So they start out learning about leadership, and that's going to take 3 days. The actual performance indicators and where information about it is found is here, and then it sequences it so you know what to teach, what order to teach, and how long it's going to take. And then section 4 really is the heart and soul of our course guide. It's what I loved while I was in the classroom. Loved the sequencing because that really helped me in doing my planning, but I really loved section 4. And these are the planning guide sheets. So day by day, it's going to give you instructional guides, activities, resources, and of course the performance indicator and objective is always going to be there. So here you see a sample of a planning guide sheet on setting personal goals. The objectives are here, and then there's I call it a lesson plan starter. We call it an activity, but really to help help you to think about how you want to teach this. If you don't like the activity or you want to add to the activity, we also provide a whole list of resources, including books, websites, and those websites might be videos, it might be reading, it might be an activity, and those are for each and every one of the performance indicators for each day that you're going to be teaching. If there's information that we know your students are going to need to know beyond that activity, we're going to provide what we call a briefing. Usually is a one-page handout. It's never more than 2. You can use it as a handout for your students. You can use it to create your own discussion. You can use it in lots of different ways, but we provide some additional information to help you with knowledge and skills that we know that students are probably not going to know much about, or that you might need assistance with. Section 5 has the projects. Again, as I mentioned, 1 or 2 projects, and we provide the information. If you've not done project-based learning in your classroom before, we provide the information to help you deliver it as a PBL, but they can also be standalone projects, or oftentimes they're built throughout the course, right, as a PBL, but you get to decide how you want to use that project. And then the exams, there are always 2 if it's a full semester course, but you don't always have to use them as semester exams. Help your students get ready for competition. Use them as a pretest if you have to show growth in your classroom over time. Pull it apart, break it down, and use it throughout the semester, or make it your review before you give them their actual final exam. So many different ways that you can use those exams. And then there are appendices in our course guides. We have the 21st century skills. We do still include the scans, even though people say, why do you include it? Because actually there are some states who are still using the scans and not the 21st century skills, and the full listing of the labs as well. So I said 2016 and on, all of our course guides look like this. But if you happen to download an older course guide, you can see instead of 5, there are sections that are just a little bit different, but the information is going to be the same. It's just where it's located. Instead of section, in the new one, section 4 is the planning guide sheets, and the old one, section 5, is the planning guide sheets. So they'll just look and be laid out a little bit differently. So how do I get to the course guides? You have to go in through States Connection, right? So that's going to be your kind of your touch point for everything. It's a touch point to get into your learning center. It's a touch point to get access to all of those other really great free resources. Okay. I wanted to, we have lots, I wanted to end at about 4:15. I think I'm pretty close. I'm really close. I'm like right on time. Here is a list of how you can reach us at any time. You can reach us at service@mbaresearch.org. Please follow us on Twitter and Facebook so you can get the latest and greatest and up-to-date information. And what I'd like to do now is to open it up to questions. So I'm going to unmute everyone. So if you've got quite a bit of background noise going on, I would like you to try to reduce that background noise. And I do see is with us. So Deanna, I would like to welcome you to this session. And Deanna, do you have anything you would like to say or talk to your teachers about?
Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, this is Deanna. I'm hoping that this was very beneficial for you guys to get an introduction of States Connections. I have set up something with MBA Research Monthly. So if there is anything in particular that you want to elaborate on in Brenda's session, you can reach out to me and let me know, and I will make sure that the PD team at MBA covers our needs.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deanna. And thank you for taking the lead on providing professional development for your teachers and doing this on a monthly basis, because I think it really helps to remind all of us. I know in the classroom you just get so darn busy that you forget all of these great resources are there. And sometimes you just need a reminder, and other times you just need a little bit of help understanding how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
So does anyone have questions about anything we've talked about at this point? Okay, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. In about an hour, you're going to receive an email, and in that email will be verification that you attended today's webinar. And there should also be a certificate that's going to document the amount of time that we were together and then the topic. So in some school districts and some states, they're able to use that to add to their professional development to show that they're doing PD outside of the classroom. So we'd like to provide that to you. The one thing that we have found is that email often ends up in your spam because it's not coming from MBA Research, it's coming from GoToMeeting, which is what's powering today's meeting. So please check your spam folder. If you do not receive that certificate, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Or you can reach out to service@mbaresearch.org, and we'll work to see if we can't get you a copy of that certificate, but more often than not, it ends up in spam. I want to thank all of you for coming today. Tammy sends her apologies, but knows that you would totally understand that when a hurricane hits, probably not the best thing to be is on your computer. So I want to thank all of you for coming today. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Tammy or to our service department at any time. We'd love to help you and love to answer questions.
Brenda, there's a couple questions on the chat.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let me scroll. Is there a curriculum available for accounting, hospitality? All right, so here is what we do have is we have Brittany, we have curriculum for marketing, we have curriculum for personal finance. We have some resources for hospitality and tourism. In our bookmarks, you'll find some information on accounting. We are looking at developing course guides in the future for accounting, so hold on to that thought. But I will also tell you that we are beginning to work on a partnership with AICPA. They purchased the I call it an advanced accounting course, but they purchased the accounting course from the University of Kansas. And we really feel strongly that that is an awesome accounting course. It really looks at managerial accounting versus bookkeeping, and probably should be a second-year accounting course. So I would send you to that location. Right now, we do not have anything in digital imaging and web page publishing in terms of curriculum. But I do believe, and I've been out of the classroom for about 3 years. I feel like we had a couple rubrics around web page publishing, but not any real curricula.
And
And
Brittany, I'm sorry,
yep, go
this is
ahead.
Deanna. And Brittany, we do have the Imagine Academy. I know we've talked about that in the past, but we have the Imagine Academy that has some resources and curriculum for digital imaging as well, web page publishing. And we also added online resources for Adobe products. So you can reach out to me individually if you want to and call my office and we can talk about that. Okay, go
Okay,
ahead and get the next one, Brenda.
terrific. So Candace, Candace was letting her know too. Great. So Candace or Brenda asked, how long will it take to get the new user logon if you applied for it today? You'll have it for sure by tomorrow. And I'm going to walk out, and I'm pretty sure that they have been monitoring this, so I would not be surprised if you don't have access today, but for sure tomorrow you'll have access to States Connection. The Learning Center, if any of you have not signed up for the Learning Center, that you sign up within States Connection, but it's a separate sign up because it's powered by Canvas, and so that'll be a separate email that will come out to you. So States Connection, for sure, you all want to sign up for, and for those of you who have not done the Learning Center, once you get into States Connection, sign up for that Learning Center. You're really gonna be blown away by the resources available to you. And because of Deanna's advocacy on your behalf, remember, not only do the teachers get access in West Virginia to the Learning Center, but all your students do as well. So even for those of you that are teaching like web page publishing, while we might not have a whole series of labs to support, there may be some of our soft skill labs that would support, but you can set up your classroom in there as well, right? The Learning Center allows you to set up as many classes as you want to. And so you can, doesn't matter if you're teaching, sewing, you could set up a class in the Learning Center. So please use that resource that's available to you. You're going to fall in love with it. Any other questions? You're welcome, Brittany. All right.
Okay, thank you, Brenda, so much for taking over, and
okay.
I appreciate you guys.
Okay, great. And Elizabeth, if you are having trouble finding that sign up for the Learning Center, wait, I've got a couple more questions that just came in.
Okay.
Elizabeth, I can't get out to it right now, but if you have trouble finding it, just send something to service at MBA Research and they will get you all set up with a Learning Center. And then Virginia says, are NACD exams based on the MBA Research curriculum? Are there bookmarks or other indicators that will direct me to the labs? Virginia, if you go onto our website and you go under assessments and go to the Ask exam, you can get a whole listing of all of the labs that will support that particular exam. And then you could go into the Learning Center and pull those labs over. That's how I would do it, but you've actually given me a really great idea, Virginia. Why don't we have those already in the Learning Center so that you can just access it right there? So I'm writing a note down, but for now, go out to our website, to our assessments, ask assessments, and you can pull that listing down. All right, so Kim, you do the same thing. So if you have any other questions, please send them out to us. Love to answer your questions, love to continue to help you. We want to make your life as easy as we can, want to support you as much as we can. All of you have a really wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Deanna, for organizing this today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll send you that link as soon as it's ready, so you can send it out to your teachers. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.